Hey, this is Mike Lindsay from Vital MX. We're in Buffalo, South Carolina, riding the 2019 Yamaha YZ250FX. For 2019, the bike is actually unchanged versus the last time we tested it, but what really has changed is the location. The few times we've swung a leg over this bike have been in Southern California, whether it be up in the mountains, the desert. That's really the only terrain we've gone to ride is what we have back home. Yamaha decided to give us a little bit different view of the machine and allow us to ride it in more of the conditions that you would see at a GNCC and Enduro. We're in the single track, creek bottoms, wet rocks, tree roots, the whole 9 yards, really getting to see why Yamaha developed this bike the way they did. As most of you are probably aware, the YZ250FX is based off the YZ250F motocross bike, albeit the prior generation one. But it's the same chassis, engine, really all the major mechanical parts that make it work. It's all about the way they tune and set it up. 18-inch rear wheel, ECU changes. The engine is actually completely the same. And then they're just working with things like engine mounts, tire, axle size, just everything that it takes to make the bike compliant and work in this terrain. While things like the ECU settings and suspension are items that the aftermarket or the consumer can do themselves, there's a few key things that really set the bike apart. The two major being the electric start on this bike, where the motocross version of these cases didn't have one. And the major standout point is the transmission. Instead of a 5-speed close ratio, it has a 6-speed wide ratio. And really out in this terrain is where that shines. When we're out on the West Coast, the only thing you really notice is that the 5th and 6th gear is so helpful on the big desert conditions, but out here, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd really shine. Honestly, even in the tightest tree roots, when you really get a good flow going, I was amazed that I'm riding the bike in 3rd a lot. It has a really smooth power characteristic, it has a lot of deep down grunt, and it'll carry that high gear. But when you get into the hill climbs, the sharp just kind of jumps out of washes, everything where you just need all this instantaneous power, you can be down in 1st and 2nd and the bike will pull so low. It makes it great for the technical hill climbs, and it makes this bike really stand out. Where the motocross bike, two things would happen. You wouldn't have that gear ratio, you'd be smoking the clutch. The power would be so aggressive when you did smash the clutch that you would pounce off all the tree roots and you wouldn't be able to get connected. And then also the way the bike is set up, it wouldn't be able to be compliant across that terrain. But with the FX, you have all the right ingredients to make that task simple. Riding it, it's interesting. I don't know if I would quite take one to an Enduro or GNCC over a 2-stroke since they're available in most of those classes, but for the guy playing around, this bike is so easy to ride. You can play around a little bit of moto with it, you can take it out in these gnarly terrains, and it really makes the job easier.